Welcome to today's Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here because, honestly, the story we're unpacking today is just fascinating. It's a heartbreaking teardown of romantic expectations colliding head-on with our digital age reality. We're looking at a narrative titled Cruelty Beneath the Apple Tree, and it poses a question we really don't think about very often. What happens when ancient mythical love meets modern cynical technology? This isn't just a simple story about a prank, no. It's a profound look into vulnerability, empathy, and frankly, the sometimes cruel nature of human amusement. The psychology we're about to unravel is incredibly compelling, so let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Mary, is that you? You can almost hear the tremor in those words, right? We're introduced to a man named Lester Knight. Lester is 72 years old, and those four words carry the weight of a desperate, lifelong hope. When we talk about vulnerability, there's literally nothing more raw than holding on to a promise for decades. You see, Lester isn't just some guy looking for a lost connection. He represents this pure, unfiltered belief in soulmates, a kind of belief that completely defies logic and time. As we go through this explainer, I want you to keep Lester's unyielding hope in the back of your mind, because it's going to make the climax of this whole thing so much more impactful.
Section 1, A Love Outlasting Time.
To really understand Lester, we've got to look at this incredibly specific, decades-long ritual he has. For 56 years, every single June 15th, Lester has gone to Pioneer Park to wait under the exact same apple tree. I mean, that beautifully illustrates the sheer scale of his devotion. According to Lester, he and Mary have shared this undeniable soul connection across multiple lifetimes. They found each other in 1931. Before that, 1842. And even before that, 1749. The text actually notes that before 1749, the memories get a bit hazy, but the promise, that has always been crystal clear. Meet under the tree. So whether you buy into reincarnation or not, the emotional truth for Lester is absolute. He's not just waiting for an old girlfriend, he's waiting for a cosmic inevitability.
Section 2, The Digital Disruption.
Here is where that timeless romance is suddenly and violently pierced by modern reality. Picture this. You've got an ancient soul, standing under an ancient apple tree on a warm afternoon, carrying memories all the way from 1749, when the absolute unthinkable happens. A brand new cell phone rings. Now, Lester has only had this phone for a week, and it's explicitly stated that absolutely no one has the number. Bewildered, he answers. A woman's voice comes through. It's strangely metallic, but heartbreakingly familiar to him. She asks if this is Lester, who's waiting for Mary. When he frantically asks if she's coming to the park, she responds, "I can't, my darling. We'll have to wait for the next reincarnation cycle." Just imagine the emotional whiplash there. After 56 years of pure silence beneath that tree, the universe finally speaks back, only to slam the door right in his face.
Lester obviously begs to know why, and the answer he gets is the crushing blow of this entire narrative. She says, "Because I was reincarnated as an AI assistant this time. I'm not human, Lester. The fates cheated us this time." No way, right? The absurdity of that twist is matched only by its cruelty. Lester just stands there in absolute shock. The source material paints this devastating picture. His numb fingers simply let the phone slip right into the park grass. He shakes his head in disbelief, turns, and walks away into the afternoon sun in stunned silence. His heart, which he carefully preserved across centuries, is shattered in a matter of seconds by a digital ghost.
Section 3, Behind the Curtain. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the abrupt shift in reality we're about to see. Because miles away from Pioneer Park, that strangely metallic illusion dissolves into harsh, booming laughter. Yep, there is no AI reincarnation. There is only a prank executed by Lester's next-door apartment neighbor, a guy named Gary Snyder. Gary is laughing so hard he can barely breathe. And his motive? It's incredibly mundane. He had simply heard enough. Gary characterizes Lester's profound, lifelong hope as mere bleeding. You see, Lester would talk to literally anyone who would listen about meeting Mary beneath the apple tree. But to Gary, this wasn't some beautiful display of human loyalty. It was just an annoyance. So he used his girlfriend, Luann, to execute this devastating hoax. He told her to put on the metallic voice and break an old man's heart. Why? Because in Gary's own words, it was an absolute hoot. He just wanted Lester to shut up and find something else to complain about.
Section 4, Empathy versus Cynicism.
This brings us to a fascinating psychological breakdown of the perpetrators. We've got two vastly different reactions to this deception, which gives us a really clear dual perspective on human empathy. On one hand, Gary calls it an absolute hoot and the best prank I've pulled in years. He's literally wiping tears of joy from his eyes. He's completely devoid of remorse. His cynicism just totally shields him from understanding the emotional damage he just inflicted. But then, on the other hand, you have Luann. She physically feels the weight of the deception pressing heavily on her chest. She's starting to realize that attacking someone's deepest vulnerability just isn't funny. Her voice is tinged with regret as she softly suggests that, well, maybe it wasn't a very nice thing to do. She possesses the exact empathy that Gary entirely lacks.
But Luann's empathy isn't enough to stop Gary's momentum. He scoffs at her regret, tells her to get her coat, and lays out this, frankly chilling itinerary of cruelty. So the crucial point is his plan. First, go down to the bar. Second, tell the fellas the story so they can roll on the floor laughing. And third, and definitely most chillingly, unmask the hoax to Lester himself. The pain he caused Lester isn't just a byproduct of the prank, it is the product. He fully intends to use an old man's shattered soul as social currency at the local bar.
As they step out into the hallway, Gary throws an arm around Luann and delivers this final line. The absolute funniest part is going to be when I finally tell Lester it was me who hoaxed him. The look on that old man's face is going to be absolutely priceless. Let that sink in. Gary isn't satisfied with breaking Lester's heart anonymously. No, he wants the credit. He wants to watch the realization dawn on Lester's face. He wants to strip away not just Lester's hope for Mary, but Lester's dignity as well. With a final, cruel laugh, they step out into the afternoon air, completely shattering that romantic innocence we started with.
Which brings us to a deeply provocative question for you to take away from this explainer. What happens when the digital ghost is unmasked? We are left to ponder the inevitable, devastating fallout. When Gary finally confronts Lester to claim his twisted victory, what will even remain of the man who waited 56 years under an apple tree? It's like watching a train wreck in slow motion. This story really forces us to look in the mirror and ask ourselves about the impact of our own casual cynicism in a modern world that is so quick to mock sincere vulnerability. What do we destroy when we decide that someone else's sacred hope is just a joke waiting to be told at the bar? I want you to think deeply about that as you go through your week. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and hey, keep your empathy sharp out there.